between the sky. Rely on yourself and no way. Believe.
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everyone had a good weekend. I had a weekend filled with taking care of sick people. Um, my kid, all of everybody went through the house getting completely knocked out with this stuff, but not I. Not I. I survived. All I come out with is some sinus issues. The reason I survived: comfrey tea. If you guys haven't tried comfrey tea, try comfrey tea. Okay, so good, so good. And I don't mean a tea bag. I mean get you the dried plant and hot water that thing. Make a good tea. Oh my goodness, ain't nothing like it. Ain't nothing like it. Anyway, so everyone's still sick upstairs. I'm downstairs staying away from them. Uh, Comfrey, comfrey, Comfrey. Trust me. That thing got me off of coffee. I was done with coffee once I started that. So good. Haven't touched coffee in almost 2 months now. That should say something. I lived on coffee since I was 6 years old. Uh, yeah. Anyway, back to the thing at hand. Um, the brass serpent. Um, the topic came to me out of a list of topics that I had, and initially it lent itself to a more cut and dry approach. But the more I read it, the more I realized something about the actual passage that um, has been the pervading theme in almost every thing that God's been trying to show me. Um, I got off coffee because I was doing comfrey tea, COMFREY, comfrey tea. Great stuff. Can't go wrong. So I started reading this passage, and a very odd thing popped up, but it was exactly what he's been saying for the last couple of weeks to me, and so it worked out really good. So I'm gonna read it to you first here. Okay, this is in Numbers 21. Okay, and it says they traveled from Mount Or along the route of the Red Sea to go around Edom, but the people grew impatient on the way. The people being people of Israel. And like I said, throughout the entire Old Testament, that's their entire life. They get something, they get impatient, they get disobedient. They get something, they get disobedient. A seesaw effect of their life. No matter how grave the punishment, they always seem to go back to disobedience. So, this is proving two things, and I'll get to that in a minute, right? So, they spoke against God and against Moses and said, "Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? There's no bread, there's no water, and we detest this miserable food. We detest this miserable food." Then the Lord sent venomous snakes among them. They bit the people, and many Israelites died. The people came to Moses and said, "We sinned. We sinned when we spoke against the Lord and against you. Pray that the Lord will take the snakes away from us." So Moses prayed for the people. And the Lord said to Moses, "Make a snake and put it up on a pole. Anyone who is bitten can look at it and live." So Moses made a bronze snake and put it up on a pole. And then, when anyone was bitten by a snake, They looked at the bronze snake and they lived. So, lessons to be learned out of this. I think there is something to be said about Israel. The biggest thing is that there is no proof that God showing up in a physical way in the world will ever fully change someone's behavior. We always say, why doesn't he stop this? Why doesn't he stop that? Why doesn't he just step in if he is God? And why doesn't he just step in and stop hunger? Why doesn't he just step in and stop abuse? Why doesn't he just step in? Why, right? Meanwhile, we have blatant examples of him stepping in the most blatant way, most amazing way, and it changes nothing. It satiates them for a few, and it does nothing because they don't really want him to step in for the benefit of them believing him more. They want him to step in for the benefit of it's saving them from something temporary. It is not even about getting you to the next level of faith. That's not why people want him to step in. They want out of something. How many times have you been in a position? If you just get me out of this, God, I will leave. I will love you for the rest of my life. Just cure this, and I'll follow you to the end of the earth. Just do this one thing, and I will. Humans are notorious for that. Just, just, just help me now. Okay, okay. This is all I'm ever going to ask you. Just help me out, and I'm yours. Then you get helped out, and conveniently, you forget what you said. Like you said, you're going to follow me forever. Yeah, yeah. But see, okay, I was in a tight spot, and thank you for getting me out. I'm not saying not thank you, but okay. So, children of Israel, they get mad. We don't like this stupid food you gave us, this miserable food. We detest it. I want you to listen to how they say it, right? We detest this miserable food. There's no bread, no water. We detest this miserable food. Now, what God does next is pretty ingenious. And I would say, sorry to say it, partially comical. Partially comical. He uh he knows how to be a little bit petty. You might say that's a sin. That's not. No, I'm showing you why I think he can be. He knows how to remind you of stuff without reminding you of stuff. Not throwing your sin back in your face, but making you understand the gravity of your sin. He has a way of doing that. Um, and with the children of Israel, he does it just perfectly. So, in their vocal anger towards God, he sends a plague of snakes to bite them, and some die. Now, people might say, yo, why would God do that? How could he do that? They're the same people that say, why doesn't God intervene? You see, they want him to intervene when it's a positive thing, but not when it's a negative response. They only want God to intervene and manifest himself in a positive way. They don't want him showing up to punish them. That's the last thing they want. You can't punish us. No, no, no. That is mean, God. Him stepping in and saving you from a volcano. Oh, my God is so great, big, so strong, and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. So he must only operate on your whims and your wishes. So if you don't want him to punish you, he shouldn't. And if you want him to bless you, he should. That's how that works. I didn't know. I didn't know that's how that worked. So you disobey, and not only disobey, you curse God. You tell him, take your stinking food and get out of here. Why you bring us here to die? Now remember, it said directly, this is what it says. It says, they spoke against God and Moses. So you argue with God about bringing you out of Egypt to die. Then you tell him, we ain't got no food, we ain't got no water, we ain't got no bread. And you got this stupid food that you're giving us, this disgusting thing that we detest. It's pretty that's pretty brave. That's pretty bold. So you want him to save you want him to intervene, you want the blessings, you want the food, you want the water, and you cuss him when you don't get it, and you expect him to bless you with the stuff and not punish you for it. Again, all of this hinges on us knowing who God is. And of all the people on earth that should know who God is, it should have been the people of Israel. And again, works doesn't necessarily produce faith, but faith can definitely produce works. Okay? So, him saying, all right, fine, snakes. Now, here's where I think God is. You might you might say it's petty. You might say petty is not the right word, but I can't think of a better word to put than petty. Um, he's like, oh, you don't want the food? Here's the snakes. Oh, you want me to save you from the snakes? All right, here's a snake. This is how I think this is what I consider petty, right? You don't want a snake? Here's a snake. Now that you see the snake, now look upon the snake and you're gonna be fine. What was that? It was a reminder of the things that you do, your disobedience, what it yields. And I want you to remember that your disobedience got you here. Your disobedience got you here. Your rebellion got you here. I want you to look at it and remember that this was your doing. You saw me. You saw me part the sea. You saw me. You saw it. And now you now now you curse me for the stuff I'm giving you? All right, remember this is you. This is you. You wanted this. You were the ones. So look at the snake because you brought the snake upon yourself. This is punishment. And when you remember that this was on you, your healing will come. Plain and simple. When you remember it, your healing will come. A lot of us don't want the punishing side of God. We want all the love, all the forgiveness, all of the happy, happy, joy side of God. We want him to bless, we want him to give, we want him to be there. And then when all of a sudden we do something stupid, we don't want the consequence. We don't want the consequence. When the consequence is built in, we don't want the consequence. All of a sudden, God must take the consequence away. It's like with David, right? With David, this is so David is watching Bathsheba, gets Bathsheba, lays with Bathsheba, kills her husband in battle, and then when the prophet comes to tell him about it, yeah, that person should be kill that person, man. Get all kinds of bad punishment should come on him, but it's you. Well, see, that's different though. I mean, okay, hold on. So So you see, for that guy, that's fine. But for me, come on, like God, really? You go, you gonna take my child? Like, come on, man. Like, I mean, I understand I did wrong, but should it be that we were just issuing a punishment for somebody else, weren't you? You were just issuing punishment for somebody else. We don't want God to intervene in a manner that's negative towards us. This is a direct um, consequence of our disobedience. The Israelites had a streak that many today still possess. What is that streak? Self. Self. They love self. Now, in case you're thinking, maybe, just maybe, when they had asked God to give them the a certain persons into their hand, God did it. Gave him. But no, no, when it comes to him giving them stuff, they're still not satisfied. It is a crazy, crazy, crazy thing. The brass serpent wasn't about worshiping an idol. I've heard people say that before. I've heard people say that before. That, oh, God approved of idol worship by giving them a serpent. No. Remember this. When we do things on our own accord, it's disobedience. When we do what he told us to do, it's obedience. Having no other God before him is a self inflicted thing. You purposefully going away from his requests to find another God to worship, that's a God before him. Him telling you to do something that you may live is keeping him as God. The Israelites did the exact opposite. They put themselves in the position of God to tell God, you don't know anything about how to handle this. We want better food. We want bread. We want water. We want it now. Otherwise, it's just ridiculous. Then they got cursed with the snakes. And here's your test of obedience. Here's your test of obedience. That snake that was sent as a punishment, here's a representation of it. You are going to look at it when you have gotten the punishment for the. Now, listen to how this works. These are the people that have been bitten, which means these are the disobedient ones. The disobedient ones were bitten. They got bitten. They asked for forgiveness. He says, fine, but make a snake, put it on a pole, and keep it in front of them. Anyone who gets bitten by their sin can look at the fact that their sin is what got them here. Remember that I have told you that you're forgiven when you look upon that snake. If you want to get out of that pain, look at the snake. The snake is your reminder that I forgave you. And it's also a reminder that you put yourself there. You put yourself there, and I still forgave you for putting yourself there. A snake is not a relic. The real idea behind it was to show man that regardless of who you think you are, you will never be God. You're not. They had food provided out of nowhere, and it was food. But because it wasn't the kind of food that they were used to, listen to this. Because it wasn't the kind of food that they got while they were in captivity, it wasn't real food. Because they didn't get the kinds of food that they got in Egypt, wasn't real food. They preferred the food of their slave owners, of their captors. They preferred the food that reminded them of their captivity over the food of their freedom. They chose food of bondage over freedom food, and then cursed the hand that gave them the freedom food and wanted to go back into captivity to experience slave food. So you see why now he had to keep using that inference of their sin? You see why he had to pick the snake? He had to pick the snake because he had to keep what they did in front of him. Because apparently they forget quite easily the crap that they do and then want salvation and then they go right back to they keep forgetting that. So he had to keep that in front of him. He kept it in front of him. If you look at the snake, after you've been bit, you'll be fine. Now fast forward to today. Fast forward to today. There is a passage, okay, that David once said, "Wash me clean of my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin, for I know my transgression and my sin is always before me. Against you, you only have I sinned and done what is evil in your sight, so that you may be proved right when you speak and blameless when you judge." This is after he has done all of his mourning and moaning and weeping and whining and screaming, crying. He reminded you before the New Testament, before the New Covenant, of your sin, to remind you of who you were, who you are. Fast forward to now, where he offered Jesus and your sin is removed. There is no sin before you. He doesn't hold it over you. He removed it. Yet still, we, a lot of us, are like the Israelites. and we will curse him for the blessings he gave us and ignore the fact that he saved us from the Red Sea. Many of us had our Red Sea episodes. The enemy chasing us. God stepped in, drowned the enemy. You were free, gave you stuff, and you got dissatisfied with what he was giving you. And you cursed him. Maybe not verbally, but you cursed him. Not satisfied with what he was giving you. And then you turn around and want him to forgive you for that, and not realizing that he did not do what he used to do, which was keep your sin in front of you. He erased it. That's what makes it the sacrifice of Jesus different than bloods of bulls and calves. They were not perfect. They were not even of humankind. And they were innocent, but they also not guilty of anything mankind had done, which is why they were a temporary sacrifice. The only thing they had in archetype of Jesus was the innocence. That's it, the innocence. They did nothing to deserve the death that they went through for the sacrifice. But it could never equate to the sacrifice for men. It was on behalf of, but it couldn't equal. What had to happen was a man who was like an innocent animal had to be treated like the animals and killed to remove the need for a serpent to stand on a stick. See, but for a lot of us who are not walking correctly, maybe not walking at all, we don't understand the sacrifice. Heck, we don't even understand that we've been given manna. We want to go back to what we want, something familiar, something man made, tangibles, as our idea of blessing. We want the fancy. We want great food. We want bread. We don't want this detestable food that you give us, God. We don't want that. We don't want the trials of life. We want it ease. We want peace and quiet, God. Give us that, and then we will follow you. We don't often say, give us whatever you have for us, and we'll be satisfied. We're constantly asking for stuff, things. Not my will, but thine. Not my will, but thine. Now, I'm not saying you don't ask God because he said to, but a lot of it I think has to be asked in knowledge of who he is. You have to. It has to be asked in knowledge of who he is and what you know he's after. If more of us prayed, not my will, but how do you think your life would change? If you were to take up the idea of whatever you want me to do, make me do it. If you took that approach, do you think that maybe you'd have a different viewpoint of God? When we stop asking for all this stuff, and I mean anything, listen, okay, this is gonna part where I might upset some. You have a loved one that's dying, and you want them to live, and you pray incessantly to God for them to live, and they end up dying. Then you end up getting mad because God didn't answer your prayer. You said if I asked, you would answer. You forgot one very important thing in asking God something. There's one part of that asking God anything that we forget. A lot of people don't catch it because they put it in a different category. Anything you ask in my name. A lot of people say if you just say it and then said in Jesus' name, that's fine. That's not what it means. In his name does not mean you say his name afterwards and that will cover it as being in his name. Because if it's not in his plan, it's not in his name. If it's not in his plan, it is not in his name. You can put the name of Jesus after anything you pray. That doesn't mean that he'll fulfill it because it may not be in his name. Consider in his name a signature on a contract or a signature on a piece of legislation or a signature on a letter. It is a sign off that the things in that letter he is okay with. It comes in the name of the king. We don't like to look at it that way. We think if I just say his name after whatever I want, he will give it to me. That's not how that works. Not my will, but yours. Make your request and then say, but you know what? Not what I want, but what you want. In your name, amen. Ask anything you want and then say, but whatever you want, your will be done. Amen. In your name. Whatever you have laid out, I will accept. Not what I want, but what you want. In your name. Whatever is listed in your name, let it happen. Because your plan is above my plan, your way is above my way, your wisdom's above my wisdom. So whatever is in your name, it will happen. In his name is not a tag. It's not .com. It's not .org or not get you just random address because you put .com behind it. It's not some random tag. It has everything to do with it being in his will or not his will, not yours, his. You have as little to do with it. Make your request known in his name, knowing that he has the right to say yes or no. In his name, it will be fulfilled. If it's in his plan, it will be fulfilled. If it's in his will well to make it happen, it will happen. But a lot of us, when it doesn't happen, we instantly blame him for not fulfilling your request because, hey, I asked it in your name. Just because you want it does not mean it's fruitful for you. Just because you want it doesn't mean that you'll get it. And just because you want it doesn't mean it's right. If he wants it and it happens to line up with what you want, you benefit on that level. But regardless, his answer will always benefit you. His answer will always benefit you. Exactly, Brenda. I often said this, beforehand, that no was such an evil answer to give, but then I realized sometimes that's the answer. Sometimes he'll say, ask whatever you want. And the answer is no. Sometimes the answer is no. And we don't like no's. Same with my kid might ask me for chocolate at 10 o'clock at night. No. Kid may not like it. The answer is no. The brass serpent is a good example of what happens when we become complacent with the blessings of God. It's a very good example also of showing us that he could easily have done and left it like that. But that was never his plan. His plan was to erase the sin, remove that chasm, not to keep it in front of us all the time. But when you do realize who you are and what he saved you from, he won't need to remind you. You will remember at all times that this God of the universe saved you from who you were, and you will by natural nature keep it as a reminder that this is who I was that he saved me from, and I will never go back there again. I know who I was, and I will never go back there. Once you realize what it is that he's done, it's really easy to go back when you haven't realized it. Very easy. Um, Tomorrow, we'll be talking about something very deep, and I mean deep. It's deep, really, really, really deep. So if you show up tomorrow, you really need to show up with a little bit of a need to eat meat, because we will be discussing. Hopefully, my friend will be on with me. Um, we'll be talking about the gospel of Jesus. What was it that Jesus was preaching? What was his gospel? And that one will be very profound. Hopefully, my friend Lonnie will be with me. He's the individual, the brother that broke down for me the way the cross really operates, and it was, man, changed my whole viewpoint, changed my world, absolutely changed my world. Um, and you will love him, by the way. He's really, really, really genuine brother. Um, really, really, no more milk. Milk time is done. You're gonna need some incisors and some canines for this sucker tomorrow. So anyway, Lonnie is his name. I'll be sending him his link tonight, and I'll prep with him, and it'll be so good. It will be so good. You will not be upset. You will not be upset. Um, Thank you guys for being here. Hopefully everyone is doing well. We will be back on tonight on Too Strong. Don't forget to be there for that. We're going to be dabbling a little bit into the political realm this week, um, because some things kind of popped up on our radar that I think you guys should be aware of. You should be aware of it. That I think it's vital that you be aware of it. I'm going to drop the link to my YouTube channel here so that you guys that are on Facebook can jump over and subscribe to it. Makes the conversation a little bit more robust. Um, Much more robust. So there's a link down there. That's to my my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't want to do the whole through YouTube um, super chat thing, and you want to donate to the furthering of this particular journey that I'm on with spreading this particular um, word, There are two options. My PayPal is that first one with the dollar sign in front, and the second one is the first one's my Cash App. The second one is my PayPal. First one, dollar sign Cash App. Second one, PayPal. Um, but your guys' support in the chat means way more than you can ever think. Sharing this as much as possible, smashing that like button so we can get more people in front of the message would be great. And as I always say, just make sure you go back to the author with everything. Because if he ain't involved in it, you might as well quit. So take everything, run it by him, run it through him. What was the question here? Of which church were you enlightened in 2017? What do you mean enlightened? Clarify that. Break that down a little for me. I don't know what you mean. Um, what does that mean? Of which church was I enlightened? Please clarify. Comfrey tea, Freddy. COMFREY. Make sure you get the dried leaves, the loose leaf tea. Don't get the tea bag. It's not the same. Trust me, it's not the same. Everyone in my home got sick. It didn't touch me, bro. It didn't touch me. Might have been God, more than likely God, but I'm sure he put that comfrey tea in my back pocket, bro, because it is. I mean, I've had to take care of that hacking child. He's been throwing. I mean, everything you can think of with him being sick, he did. Wife was sick. Daughter was sick. Two boys got sick. Come on, man. Like that tea was just, man. I might have to go back. I don't know what the question was, and I don't know how far back that question was. I didn't see it, so sorry if they can't clarify for me the question. It's gonna be hard for me to answer it if they ask it a while back. If it's at the beginning, I definitely won't be able to see it. It's too far back. It does taste like tea. Tastes like an amazing tea. Really tastes good. It's so good, especially with just honey. Oh my goodness. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Um, love you guys. Mean it. Like I said, don't miss out tomorrow. I'll bring this up so people can understand the spelling and see it. It's hey, zing. It's a God thing because it's natural. Don't miss tomorrow. What did Jesus preach? Because it's very vital, because we're supposed to be teaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. A lot of us take it to be. Anyway, I won't break it down. I'll leave it like that. What did Jesus preach, and what is Jesus' gospel? It's very, very profound stuff. So don't forget what I always say. One, take it back to the author. And two, wisdom calls to you from the street. Please, 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 please. Find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself and no way. Believe